Social Development Minister Bathabile Dlamini has given an update on the grant payment system. She says due diligence into the post office has been completed. Social Development spokesperson Lumka Olifant joins us in studio to discuss this. Welcome to ENCA, Lumka. Always good to have you with us. So, the process of the court has required that you report back to the Constitutional Court quarterly. I understand you've begun to do that already to check that you are in line with what the court has asked you to do. Tell me what's come out of your report so far.
So far, what's come out of the report is what we need to do as Sassa and social development. When I say what we need to do as Sassa and social development, what are the needs that we have to do? Where is Sassa going? What's the vision of Sassa? What is the requisite skill? Which is why we had an advisory committee to the minister, and therefore as well the issues of the work streams. And that report then was adopted. And now we have a 5-year plan which we have also outlined to the court as to where is Sassa going in the next 5 years.
So just to be clear on this, although CPS's contract ends at the end of the next financial year, March, April next year, your plan is not simply one that must come into play at the end of that time. Your plan must extend over a period of 5 years.
Remember that Sassa was established to administer and pay social grants. We have been doing the administration but outsourcing the payment part of it. So those skills were not within the organization. So when we're saying that we want to then take over the payment of social grants in-house, so it requires everything that service providers used to have on our behalf.
So explain this to me. We've heard a lot about the South African Post Office, rather, taking over social grants payments when CPS's contract ends next year. Is that simply an interim measure that will act as a bridge between now and you actually starting to distribute these grants yourself as Sassa?
Remember, there are things that Sassa cannot do. First of all, we are not an IT company. Secondly, we're not a financial institution. So we will always need a financial arm of Sassa because in layman's terms, we are not allowed to handle money. But the back office of the handling of the money has to come to us because we want to have control of what happens in the Sassa account. For instance, when you talk about the deductions, we need to know what is happening there. When you talk about the money being transferred directly to a Sassa account, we want to see all that and be able to account as well for the interest that is accrued, to be able to say when a person dies, the money goes back to the state. All those things that go at the back of the office.
So explain this aspect to me as well. I understand that almost half your posts are still vacant. Do you think in the next 5 years the money can be found to fill these posts so you can fulfill your administrative function?
You must remember, like I was explaining, that Sassa had not been doing the other part of what it was supposed to do. Now we are trying to do that. And this 5-year process will also include the things that we are going to be saying, these are the requisite skills that we need to have within the organization to be able to take over the payment of social grants.
But where will the money come from? My question is, if you do not have the money now, and there are millions at stake here, and half your staff simply don't exist, how's that going to happen over the next 5 years if there's no money to do it?
Which is why we're reporting to the court so that they can be able to see what is it exactly that we need as Sassa. It also helps us with that.
So clearly you're depending on the court here to rule in a particular way regarding your funding.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we are going to be open in this in this process because people also don't understand the things that we are doing. And I'm saying that this process is also allowing us so that people can be able to understand what is it that Sassa needs, what are the skills that Sassa needs to be able to have a correct bid to go and ask for the money from Treasury, because that's where we get our money.
Some people would look at the situation and say, well, if the South African Post Office is able to fulfill this function so efficiently. Why do you need to take over the function in 5 years, despite the fact that the court has ruled that way?
Because Sassa was established to also pay social grants, not just to administer. Then the post office will play a supportive role on the things that we can't do by law. This is why we have to be able to do this. And remember, Sassa was not only established for the payment of social grant, but eventually for our social security program in the country.
All right, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us. Social Development Spokesperson Lumka Olifant. More of the day's top stories when Afternoon News continues. Stay with us.